In this video, we're going to talk about standard deviation. So let's do some definitions. Deviation is the amount that a single measure differs from a fixed value, such as the mean. So if you look at the numbers here, our mean is 5. 4 is -1 point away from 5, whereas this 2 is -3, this 1 is -4. Going the other way, the 8 is +3 and the 10 is +5. So things can deviate in the positive or negative direction. There's two ways to find deviation. Mean absolute deviation, or MAD, which we learned last year, where you find the average of the absolute value deviation from the mean. There's also standard deviation, which is the square root of the sum of the squared deviations of the mean. So first, let's review how to do MAD. Okay. We're going to use the deviations we had on the previous side of -4, -3, -1, 3, and 5. So remember, the first step in MAD is that you take the absolute value of each deviation or distance from the mean. Okay, then you're going to find the average of the absolute deviations. So we have 4 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3 plus 5. All of these equal 16. If we take the average, we get 3.2. So the average absolute deviation or distance from the mean is about 3 points above or below. So now let's take the same set of numbers and do the standard deviation. Okay, this time we're going to square each deviation. Remember, when you square a negative number, it always comes out positive. So we would do -4 squared and get 16, -3 squared and get 9, -1 squared leaves us with 1, 3 squared gives us 9, and 5 squared gives us 25. We're still going to add them up and divide by 5, just like we did for the mean absolute deviation. This time when we divide, we get 12. Now, we have one more step, unlike when we did the mean absolute deviation. This time we're going to take the square root to undo all the squaring we did. Well, when we take the square root of 12, we get 3.4, which is slightly higher than the 3.2 we got on the previous slide, but it still tells us that the average deviation is about 3 points. It's just slightly over 3 points, above or below the mean of 5. So what is this formula for standard deviation? Well, it's got some letters you've never seen before. So standard deviation, we use what looks like an O with a curly Q. It's called a lowercase sigma. To find it, our formula is the square root of, we use an uppercase sigma to say sum, and then we're going to do the individual value minus the population mean squared, divided by the total number of values. Okay, something you need to remember is when you're finding the standard deviation using the formula, remember to use order of operations. So square it before you add it and divide. And this video was brought to you with the help of Maddie and Caroline, who are now in high school.